Okay, another aspect of, you might say, living is recognizing your limitations. I find that artists, baseball players, again, it's all related. Literary giants, people who write, people who are motivational speakers. I don't care what profession you're in, and I don't care who you are. You could be, to most people, limitless and have unlimited talent and whatnot. Everyone has their limits. Everyone should know their limits. Everyone should know their strengths and weaknesses. These are axioms of life that have been repeated through the ages. Everybody knows this, but it's very important in the case of an artist to know what they should do, what they can do, what they could do, and what they should not do. Like a friend of mine said the other day, make a video that says, you should not do this. Or what not, no, he didn't say that. He said, what not to do in fill in the blank. Well, we can say that about piano playing. I'll tell you one thing you should not do when you play the piano is lift your fingers 10 feet in the air and then slam them to the keyboard. That is a no-no. So, there's one. Regarding piano playing, I think economy of motion is really the word of the day. That's how I came up with some of my later breakthroughs, like pressure. Equal pressure on each from each finger to each note that each finger is playing, meaning just equal pressure, period. Doesn't matter how much color you're producing, whether it's a loud sound, a soft sound, a mezzo forte sound. It doesn't matter whether you're playing fast, medium fast, slow. Equal pressure on every note is the word of the day. It's just more reliable. It's more vivid. The sound is focused. There are many, many attributes to this way of playing. But back to this before I got started on the actual techniques. Our limitations define us in a way. Our strengths do define us, of course, but know where you can go and where you can't go. This is a really important thing, I feel. Students of all kinds, art students, painters, pianists, people who go to school for arts management, they should know how far they can go because it can cost you. That's the most important thing about limitations. Don't go past your limits because it can be very costly. You say the wrong thing, you do the wrong thing, costs you. This is true of anyone, let's say in a practice room. If you overplay and you're not playing correctly, and there is a correct way to play, you could get tendonitis, you could get carpal tunnel syndrome. All of these afflictions, shall we say, come from not knowing your limits. Jorge Bolet, or George Bolet as he was known, he's a 6'4" pianist, right? I mean, he's a big guy. He can do things at the piano most normal people cannot do. If you tried to play like him or somebody smaller, say, they might break their arm, He was just that kind of a guy. He had a tremendous physical ability, and I don't know how he played. Even when I studied with him, I wasn't perceptive enough during those years to pick up, that's what he's doing physically. I tend to think now that he was applying pressure on each note. Listening to him, the equality of sound in each, they're like pearls, I mean, the sound he made was just almost unimaginable. I've never heard a pianist sound like that. That doesn't mean he was the greatest artist, it doesn't mean he was the worst, it doesn't mean he was the most poetic, but the sound was undeniably Bolet. And I think it's because he understood his limits. He never overplayed, although sometimes you thought, there's no instrument in the world that can deliver what he's thinking in his mind, because his playing was overwhelming at times. But again, I thought he was a man, a pianist, a musician who knew his limits and never went beyond the outer limits, like that TV show in the late or early 60s. I happen to like that show. Oh yeah. Your weaknesses can become strengths. This is very true. If you're not particularly good at something and you develop that weakness, development, it's a really important word. We'll get back to this when we talk about name brand artists and development artists. Or some people derogatorily refer to them as wannabes. But development of a weakness can become what? A strength. Development of a weakness can become a strength. That is so important. When I heard that, it hurt my head for a while. I was trying to figure out, how can a weakness become a strength? Through development of the weakness. So what's development? Well, think about it musically. Think of a development section in a sonata, right? You have the exposition, you have the development, and a recapitulation. So the development is really important, would it not be? Because you're developing the material you just heard. And then you're going to recap it in the recapitulation, you're going to hear it again. Only in another key, and with, like in the case of Opus 101, it goes off into Boonie Land later on, this incredible, absolutely fantasy-like coda that you never could believe Beethoven could go to. But it was because he developed possibly a weakness that he ended up with this unbelievable coda. Now, let's remember, Beethoven was not that great at counterpoint. Wasn't the most phenomenal counterpoint, not like Mozart. He went from harmony to harmony very quickly. He didn't have passing notes going to, having this gorgeous little interjection or bridge material going to another harmony. No, he went to a harmony quickly. 1, 4, 5, 1. He went from subdominant to dominant or to tonic very, very quickly. But that was his strength, even though the counterpoint was a weakness, because why? He was the master of what? Subito, sudden changes. He was the master of that. A weakness becoming a strength.